Welcome back to a brand new episode of Cameron Sports Podcast. This is your Cameron Lindsay back with a brand new episode. This is episode 66. In today's show, I got a few announcements I'm going to talk about real quick. But today's episode is mainly going to be about the college football top 25 rankings that finally came out this past Tuesday. The first week, the week one ratings. We're week 11 into the season, but this is a week one of the college football playoff rankings because they don't usually come out until like late into the season. So this is week one of the college football playoff rankings, top 25 rankings. So these rankings matter more than the AP rankings. The AP rankings usually start before the season. Those rankings come out before the season starts. The college football playoff rankings are the ones that matter. So if your team was ranked, let's say 10th in the AP poll, and now you're like 20th, those rankings are the ones that really matter. So let's get into it. First off, I want to announce I got the men's and women's college basketball season has begun, the 2024-25 season. I also projected number one overall pick Cooper Flagg, a freshman at Duke, had his debut against his home state team, the University of Maine. He had 18 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists. Cooper Flagg, he looked very legit in that debut. Like I said, Cooper, he's projected to be the number one pick in the 2025 NFL draft. He's 6'9". I would say a two-way player. He can score, he can shoot, he can defend. Seeing him going against NBA players during the before the Olympics started, going against players like AD, Braun, and Bam, and KD, he looked very legit, like he belonged out there. So I think Cooper is definitely going to be the number one pick in the 2025 draft. I think Duke should have a successful season. I think they should at least make it to the Elite Eight. Now, I'm not going to say win it because it's pretty hard nowadays to win it with one-and-done players in college basketball. But I definitely look forward to watching the women play. Looking forward to watching Juju Watkins. She's one of my favorite players to watch in women's college basketball. Paige Beckers. You also got, don't forget about Flau'jae Johnson from LSU, Paige Beckers from UConn, and of course, like I said, Juju Watkins, sophomore from USC. But yeah, just want to make sure, y'all know the college basketball season has started. Make sure to tune in. And yeah, but let's get into the main topic of my today's episode. So like I said, the college football top 25 rankings, week one have came out. Again, they don't come out until late in the season. The rankings that do come out are the AP rankings. Those rankings don't really matter up until we get to like week 11 of college football season, so around November. And the first number one ranked team is Oregon, 9-0. They was number one in the AP rankings. They're still number one now in the college football playoff rankings. I totally agree with Oregon being number one. They're clearly the best team on both sides of the ball. Dylan Gabriel is playing phenomenal football. He's a Heisman Trophy candidate with 19 touchdown passes, only 5 interceptions, over 2,000 yards. He's looking really, very good. Their best win was against Ohio State at home, a 1-point win over Ohio State, which is a great win on Oregon's resume. They also beat Michigan last week on the road. This week they're at home against Maryland, who's 4-4. I think I got Oregon win that game pretty easily. I don't think Maryland's going to really give Oregon any problems. I think Oregon has too fast of offense, a very good elite quarterback, a great defense. So I'm going Oregon to win that game to improve to 10-0 over Maryland. Number 2 ranked team is Ohio State at 7-1. They're coming off a win against Penn State on the road. That's their best win. Like I said, their only loss is against Oregon, which is the number one team in the nation right now. That's not a bad loss at all. Like I said, I've still got Ohio State winning the rematch in the Big Ten championship game over Oregon. Like I said, you got Will Howard, who's been playing pretty well. Jeremiah, the freshman sensation, Jeremiah Smith, 5-star receiver. You got Emeka Ibuka, Cardell Tate. Now that defense, Ohio State's defense they're still good, not as elite as I thought they would be, but it's still very, very good. You got Caleb Downs, transfer out of Alabama in that secondary. And their next game is at home against Purdue, 1-7. I think Ohio State's clearly going to win that game. Big time. Purdue's is Purdue is not a very good team at all. So I got Ohio State getting the victory over Purdue. Number 3 team is Georgia. Now, this is where I kind of have a problem. I would have Georgia number 2. Georgia was number 2 in the AP rankings, but I guess the college football committee values Ohio State's one loss to Oregon over Georgia's big win against Texas on the road. I would have had Georgia number 2 because going into Texas, who's currently the number 1 team at that time, going on the road, handily beating them, Georgia deserves to be number 2. But they're 7-1. Their next game is at Ole Miss, which won't be easy. Like I said, Georgia did have a rough game against Florida last week, even though freshman quarterback DJ Lagway did get hurt. But Florida still kept it close for that game for the most part. Now, Ole Miss, I'm very disappointed because I had Ole Miss making the college football playoff. At least as a 10-win team, possibly 11-win team. They got Jackson Dart, Lane Kiffin, an offensive-minded coach. They got a very elite receiver. I forgot his name. But he's very, very good. But Ole Miss, at 7-2, they're still a good team at 7-2, ranked 16th. And they got Georgia at home now. I'm going with Georgia. Like I said, Georgia's clearly the better team all around. But I would not be surprised if this is a close game between Ole Miss and Georgia. But if Ole Miss wants to make the college football playoff, you have to win this game against Georgia. If you do, you're eliminated. So this is an elimination game for Ole Miss. But I got Georgia winning this game. Like I said, I do believe they should have been ranked over Ohio State because Georgia has the better win. Ohio State's best win is against Penn State on the road. And, yeah, Penn State is good, but, Texas is way better than Penn State. Got more talent than Penn State. Play in a better conference than Penn State. So I would have had Georgia number 2, but Georgia's at number 3. And like I said, their next game is on the road at Ole Miss, and I got Georgia winning that game in a close one. Next up, we got number 4, Miami at 9-0. Cam Ward, Heisman Trophy candidate. Like I said, in my opinion, I think Cam Ward is arguably the best quarterback in the nation behind Shador. Him and Shador are 1A, 1B. I think those are the 2 top quarterbacks. I think Miami's clearly going to win the ACC. They're clearly the best team in the ACC. Now, I will say this. I don't know their chances of winning the national championship. I don't like their chances of winning the national championship, and here's why. Miami has had too many close calls this season. Virginia Tech, Louisville, who else they played? I think close. They had a couple close games this year, but Cam Ward bailed them out. Which, like I said, hey, he's a Heisman Trophy candidate for a reason. I just think that if Miami gets too careless, like their defense is not all that good, and let's say Cam Ward is not having the best game, they could slip up and get at least one loss. But like I said, I do think Miami win the ACC, and you win the ACC, you're going to automatically get a bid in the college football playoff. Miami's next game is at Georgia Tech. They're 5-4. Georgia Tech is a pretty decent team, not elite. Georgia Tech's 5-4, so they're going on the road. I would not be surprised if this is a close game for Miami, but of course I'm going Miami with the better quarterback, the better offense, the better coach, Mario Cristobal. I'm going Miami over Georgia Tech. Number 5, we got Texas at 7-1. Now here, I probably would flip Miami and Texas, but Texas at number 5, 7-1. Their only losses to Georgia at home. Texas' best win, I would say. I would say probably at Michigan. That'd probably be Texas' best win, even though Michigan really ain't that good. But man, it is what it is. I think, like I said, I probably would expect for it to be Texas versus Georgia in a rematch in the SEC championship game. As long as Georgia and Texas both win out, I think that would be the SEC championship game. Texas still has to play Texas A&M at Texas A&M on the road, so that should be a very, very great game between those 2 schools in Texas A&M and Texas. Texas Tech's next game for this week though is against Florida. 4-4. Like I said, they lost the freshman quarterback DJ Lagway to injury. I don't know if it'll be the rest of the season, but most likely he's not going to play this game. Texas is obviously a better team. Got Quinn Ewers, Isaiah Bond, the transfer receiver out of Alabama. I'm going Texas in the big one. I don't think Florida's going to compete in this game at all. I think Texas is clearly a better team, especially with Steve Sarkisian as their head coach. But I did find out some news. Florida is going to be keeping head coach Billy Napier for the 2025 season. I thought he would have got fired after the season because Florida is most likely either they're not going to make a bowl game or they're barely going to make one. But the school announced that they are going to be retaining Billy Napier for the 2025 season. Next up, number 6, we got Penn State at 7-1. Their next game is against Washington, 5-4. Penn State coming off their first loss of the season against Ohio State. Now, I do believe Penn State will make the playoff, but I will say this. I just kind of think it's time. It might be time to move off of James Franklin. They probably won't do it because Penn State will make the playoff, but it's like he can't beat Ohio State. I looked it up. I think he's 1-10, 1-11 against Ohio State. James Franklin's a very elite coach, but if you can't beat Ohio State, you can't beat Michigan when it matters most to win the Big Ten, automatically get a first-round bye in the college football playoff. What good is it? But I think, he most likely will be retained. I think Penn State will make the college football playoff. They're 7-1. They play Washington at home. I expect them to win that game, especially with Drew Allar at quarterback. I like Penn State's run game. I like their defense. I think Penn State will handle Washington pretty easily in this game. Next up, we got number 7, Tennessee, 7-1. Their next game against Mississippi State. I'm not going to waste no time with that. I like Tennessee clearly. I like Nico Malava. I can't say his. I swear I can't say his last name. The first redshirt freshman quarterback, 6'6", very elite. I like Tennessee. Their best win is against Alabama at home. Their only loss against Arkansas. Which is maybe a little bit. Arkansas is not a bad team. They're decent, but that's their only loss. Their best win is against Alabama at home. Like I said, so I have no problem with Tennessee being 7th. And I got them easily beating Mississippi State, who's 2-7. Number 8, we got Indiana, 9-0. The next game is against Michigan at home. I ain't gonna lie, I did not see this coming from Indiana. Their strength of schedule is like 107th from watching Joel Klatt's podcast and watching College Football ESPN. So they don't have the best strength of schedule, but they've been handling business. And I expect Indiana to handle business against Michigan. Now their toughest games is going to be against Ohio State. So that's going to be pretty interesting to see. Now, I think if they went out and just lose to Ohio State, I think Indiana can make the college football playoff. Now, contending for the national championship, I'm not going to go that far, but I think they can get in to the college football playoff. Right now, they're 9-0. I got them beating Michigan. Like I said, I don't really like Michigan this season. They're having a rough season from winning national championship last year, but we got to give Michigan some leniency, losing your star quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, to the NFL, losing your head coach, Jim Harbaugh, to the NFL, losing your star running back, Blake Corum, to the NFL. Yeah, they lost a lot of key pieces. Next up, we have BYU at 9, 8-0. And the next game is at Utah at 4-4. Now, BYU, I did not expect this from BYU. Last year, they was, I think, not that good or maybe decent, but they're 8-0. One of the favorites to win the Big 12. I think, like I said, I was watching college football, and they said only one Big 12 team would get in. I'll probably have to agree too. I think if BYU wins the Big 12, they're definitely in. You automatically win your conference, you're in as a Power 4 school. But I got BYU and the big one over Utah. Utah doesn't have Cam Rising. He's out for the season again. They have freshman quarterback, little brother to Zach Wilson, Isaac Wilson. Freshman quarterback. He's a younger brother of Zach Wilson. But number 10, we got Notre Dame at 7-1. Next game against Florida State. Notre Dame's best win is on the road at Texas A&M. Their only loss is at home against Northern Illinois. Since then, they have bounced back. I think Notre Dame's playing pretty good football. The transfer, Riley Leonard from Duke, he's playing pretty well. I think Notre Dame's clearly going to beat Florida State. Florida State's not a very good football team at all this year. Like I said, they lost DJ Uiagalelei for the season. Even when he was healthy, he wasn't playing well at all. So I expect Notre Dame to win this game big time against Florida State at home. Number 11, we got Alabama 6-2. Then their best win is against Georgia at home. The only losses are to Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Now their next game is against LSU, number 15 LSU, who's also 6-2. This game will probably be the game of the week because this is an elimination game. Just like Stephen A. Smith said on First Take, this is the elimination game because both LSU and Alabama got 2 losses. Most likely a 3-loss team is not going to get into the college football playoff. Part of me wants to say LSU, but I'm just not completely sold on them. I know Alabama's not the same defensively, and Jalen Milroe has been turning the ball over a little bit in the end zone, but I just trust Alabama more than I do LSU. I think Jalen Milroe is going to use his legs a little bit more. I think Ryan Williams could have a good game. The freshman sensation, 17-year-old Alabama receiver. I think this is going to be a close game, but going with Alabama, I trust Kalen DeBoer more. I know Stephen A. Smith and others Alabama fans are probably doesn't have that much faith in Kalen DeBoer. Now, if Alabama loses this game, it's going to look pretty ugly. I could see a lot of players potentially transferring after this year. I know some players stayed because they want to give Kalen DeBoer a chance. But yeah, it's clearly a big difference without Nick Saban there. But I think Alabama wins this game in a close one against LSU. Yeah. Next up, we got number 12 Boise State, 7-1. Their only loss is to Oregon. I think their only loss is kind of their best win in a way. And here's why: because they play Oregon, who's the number 1 team in the nation right now, in a close game, only losing by a couple points. And I think as long as Boise State keeps winning, they're the highest ranked Group of 5 school. So automatically, the highest ranked Group of 5 school who wins their conference automatically gets a bid in the college football playoff. So I think Boise State will get in as long as they win their conference, is the highest ranked Group of 5 team. They have a Heisman Trophy candidate on their team at running back in Ashton Jeanty, who's most likely probably will get to 2,000 yards. He has well over 18 touchdowns, and like I said, Boise State is a very good team. I picked them or Liberty. If you watched my episode to begin the season, I said I went with Liberty. I said if not Liberty, Boise State. And lo and behold, Boise State is the highest ranked Group of 5 team right now. Their next game is against Nevada, 3-7. I think they're clearly gonna beat Nevada. I think Ashton Jeanty is due for another big game to continue his Heisman Trophy campaign. Next up, we got 13th ranked SMU, 8-1. Their next game is against Boston College, 4-4. SMU, this is their first year in the ACC. I didn't see this coming from SMU at all. I think they win this game clearly against Boston College. SMU, they're the first team sitting out of the 12-team college football playoff. So SMU is the first school that's sitting out of the top 12 of the 12-seed college football playoff. The next team sitting out is Texas A&M at 7-2. Their only losses are to last week South Carolina and Notre Dame in week 1. Texas A&M's best win. What would be Texas A&M's best win? Maybe against Missouri on the road when they shut out Missouri at home. But I think Missouri probably be their best win. But Texas A&M looks pretty decent. They play New Mexico State 2-6. I think they're gonna blow out New Mexico State. So I'm not gonna waste no time on that. But if Texas A&M wants to make the college football playoff, they're gonna have to win out. That means beating Texas at home. So I expect College Game Day to be at that game. It's probably gonna be a chance to a trip to the SEC championship game on the line and a college football playoff spot potentially on the line for Texas A&M going forward into that game against Texas at home. Next up, we got number 14 ranked LSU, 6-2. Their next game against Alabama, also 6-2. Like I said, this is an elimination game, but I just don't trust LSU. I don't truly trust, Brian Kelly and their starting quarterback. I'm gonna go with Alabama in a close one because like I said, it's gonna most likely be a night game. But I think Jalen Milroe is just gonna use his legs. I just trust Alabama just slightly over LSU in this predicament. Next up, number 16 ranked Ole Miss, 7-2. Again, like I said, they play Georgia at home. Number 3 ranked 7-1. Part of me would want to say Ole Miss, but like I said, I'm going with Georgia. I just don't. Ole Miss has kind of been overrated to me this season. I'm a little disappointed. Next up, we got number 17 ranked Iowa State, 7-1. They came off their first loss last week. I think to Houston. Was it Houston? I forgot who they played. But they're 7-1. Their next game is at Kansas, 2-6. I got Iowa State win this game. I expect either Iowa State or BYU to potentially win the Big 12. Either Iowa State, BYU, or Colorado, them three. But I do think Iowa State will most likely make the Big 12 championship game with a chance to make the college football playoff. Next up, we got 18th ranked Pitt, who's also coming off their first loss of the season to SMU. Their next game is against Virginia, 4-4. Pitt is a lot better than I thought this year. Last year they were terrible. I thought, like I said, again, they probably won't be that good, but they're 7-1. A potential shot to maybe go play in the ACC championship game and also make the college football playoff. But yeah, I'm going Pitt to win this game against Virginia easily at home. Yeah, not going to get too much into that. Next up, we got 19th ranked is Kansas State. They're 7-1, coming off their first loss of the season. They play Arizona State at home. They're 6-2. This could be a pretty close game. I'm gonna go Kansas State. Like I said, I like their pretty quarterback. I like their running back duo. But yeah, like I said, the Big 12 has a couple of good teams. Like I said, Kansas State, Iowa State, BYU, Colorado, Cincinnati. So the Big 12 is a little crowded, and it's going to be pretty exciting to see which two teams are going to make the Big 12 championship game with a chance to make the college football playoff. Because like I said, I only believe that one Big 12 team will make the college football playoff. If you look at the 12 teams that are formatted right now in the college football playoff, only one Big 12 team is ranked in the top 12, and that's BYU. Next up, another Big 12 team, number 20th ranked, Colorado, 6-2. Will go on the road to play Texas Tech, 6-3. Now, this is going to be a very important game for Colorado. Not going to be easy at all because Texas Tech is a pretty good football team. But I believe in Shedeur Sanders. I believe in Travis Hunter, who's the best player, period, in all of college football. He's the best receiver. He's the best corner overall. He's a Heisman Trophy candidate. Shedeur Sanders, I believe, is arguably the best quarterback in the nation. If you want to go Cam Ward, I'm not going to argue with you with that. But if I'm in the NFL draft, if I'm a scout, a team, a scout, a coach, a GM, I would draft Shedeur over Cam Ward slightly because I really do believe in Shedeur. Like I said, look at Colorado. Like I said, I said in the beginning of the season, Colorado offensive line does not have to be elite. They just have to be better than it was last year. Now, when the season first started, I was like, dang, the offensive line looked the same. But as it going on, the offensive line is getting better. They're running the ball a little better. Shedeur is having more time to throw the ball. And when Shedeur has time to throw the ball, he's going to pick you apart. Especially with Shedeur. The other receivers, they have a lot of weapons on the offensive side of the ball. But yeah, this one, I'm going to go Colorado in a close one slightly. Because like I said, I'm not going to underestimate Texas Tech. But I believe Colorado will win this game to improve the 7-2 and potentially have a chance to make the Big 12 championship game. Next up, got 21 ranked Washington State, 7-1. They play Utah State, who's 2-6. Now, Washington State, one of two Pac-12 teams left, even though the Pac-12 will come back in 2026 with the teams they invited and accepted to come join the conference. I'm not going to get too much into this because Washington State has played majority of the Mountain West schools, but they're having a pretty good season. So, but I'm going to go Washington State over Utah State. Next up, we got 22 ranked Louisville coming off a big win against Clemson on the road. They're 6-3. Their next game is at Stanford, 2-7. I'm going Louisville in the big one, especially coming off a big win against Clemson on the road. I expect them to do the same thing to a horrible Stanford Cardinal team. Next up, speaking of Clemson, 23rd ranked, they're 6-2, coming off a loss against Louisville. Their other losses week 1 against Georgia. Clemson was looking very good, bouncing back from that loss against Georgia, winning like 6 in a row, but ran into Louisville at home. Like I said, I just don't really believe in Clemson all that much. I know they was winning, but I just don't. Watching Cade Klubnik, their defense is fine. It's just really their offense is not all that good. They do got a couple of good receivers like Brian Wesco, the freshman 4 or 5-star receiver. I like his game. They got Will Maffa. He's a really good running back. I like him, but overall, I just think Clemson is kind of past his time. I think Dabo is still one of the best college football coaches in the nation. I just think he just needs to dabble in the transfer portal a little bit. But hey, that's him. He's the coach of Clemson, not him, not me. I'm just an inspiring journalist. So hey. But I'm going Clemson over Virginia Tech. I think they got Virginia Tech at home, if I believe. Let me see. No, they're at Virginia Tech. Excuse me. I think that could potentially be a close game because Virginia Tech is a pretty decent football team. They played Miami close. Cam Ward, who's a Heisman Trophy candidate, so I think that could be a close game. But I'm going Clemson slightly over Virginia Tech. Next up, got 24th ranked Missouri 6-2 taking on Oklahoma at home. I don't know if Ian Cook will be playing because he got hurt in that Alabama game. But I don't like Oklahoma's quarterback situation at all either. I think, Luther Burden III, who's arguably the best receiver in the nation, and probably be the first or second receiver taken in the 2025 NFL Draft. I think Luther Burden will have a good game. I think this could be a close one, at least by 10 points. But I'm going Missouri. If it was at Oklahoma, I might pick them, but I'm going Missouri over Oklahoma. And next up is 25th ranked Army, who's 8-0. Army has shocked me. I kind of slick wish I could see Army in the college football playoff, but the only way they could probably get in is if Boise State just collapses, and then Army just keeps going undefeated and makes the American championship game and maybe gets into the college football playoff. But Army is looking pretty good. Their next game is at North Texas, who's 5-3. I'm going Army in this situation. I just think there's no way North Texas can stop that triple option offense that Army be running. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of it, but hey, what works for you? Army, Air Force, Navy. I know Georgia Tech used to run that offense. Used to hate that, but hey, Army is having a very good season, and I hope they can keep going undefeated. But yeah, so those are the top 25 schools. So for those of you who may still not understand the 12-team playoff, I'm gonna explain it to you again now. The 12 teams that are right now in the 12-team bracket are Boise State, Ohio State, Indiana, Tennessee, Alabama, Texas, Notre Dame, Penn State, BYU, Oregon, Miami, and Georgia. Those are the 12 teams that are right now projected into the 12-team playoff. If the 12-team playoff started right now, because this is the first week of the top 25 college football playoff rankings. 12th ranked Boise State will get in because they'll be the highest ranked Group of 5 team to win their conference, so they'll be in. They will play number 5 Ohio State on the road. Ohio State will get the home game. They'll play Ohio State on the road. Number 9th ranked Indiana will be in. They'll play 8th ranked Tennessee. So Indiana will be ranked 9th because they're 9th. Indiana will be ranked 9th. Tennessee will be ranked 8th. And Indiana will play Tennessee. Next up will be 11th ranked Alabama. They will play 6th ranked Texas on the road. Then number 10th ranked Notre Dame will play number 7th ranked Penn State. So that's the first round of the 12-team playoff. If it started today, Boise State will play Ohio State. Indiana will play Tennessee. Alabama will play Texas. Notre Dame will play Penn State. Now, the 4 schools that will have a bye, kind of like if you know how the NFL playoffs work, the first ranked seed gets a bye. In the AFC and the NFC, the number 1 ranked seed gets a bye. But in the college football playoff, the 4 highest ranked Power 4 schools get the 4 Power 5 schools who win their conference get a first round bye. And that will be in this situation. BYU, they'll be ranked 4th. Oregon will be ranked 1, so they'll get a bye. Miami will be ranked 3rd, they'll get a bye. And Georgia will be ranked number 2, they'll get a bye. So if it started today, so that means BYU would have won their conference, Oregon would have won their conference, Miami would have won their conference, and Georgia would have won their conference. So these 4 schools will get an automatic bye, so they don't have to play in the first round. But Ohio State will get a home playoff game, Tennessee will get a home playoff game, Texas will get a home playoff game, and Penn State will get a home playoff game because they're the higher ranked seed in the college football playoff. So Ohio State will be ranked 5th, Boise State ranked 12th, Indiana ranked 9th, Tennessee ranked 8th, Alabama ranked 11th, Texas ranked 6th, Notre Dame ranked 10th, and Penn State ranked 7th. So yeah, that's how the bracket will work for the 12-team playoff. So again, like I said, if you are still confused, you can comment in the comment section. I explain to you. I'll help you out. That's what I'm here for. But yeah, those are the top 25 schools for the week 1 of the college football top 25 rankings. Next week, the rankings will come out again. It comes out every Tuesday, leading up to the final rankings when the championship games, the conference championship games are over. That will be the final top 25 college football rankings to let you know who's making the college football playoff and who's not. But yeah, again, I want to say I appreciate each and every subscriber, each and every viewer, each and every friend, family member who always tune in to my show, my podcast. I won't be able to do this without you. I know we are not the most popular podcast, but I don't care. I love doing this. And yeah, like so one day you're going to see me on TV. I know some people say they can see it, but I believe it too. I can see it also. And I'm going to keep chasing my dreams. But I appreciate